Hey, what's a cafecito chat anyway? Well, I'm going to answer that question in today's video, so I hope you'll stick around. My drink of choice today is Strawberry Fields, a Red Bull drink from Scooters. It's delicious, a bit on the sweet side, gives you a little sugar shock in the afternoon, if you know what I mean, but it's delicious, and it's a great pick me up for an afternoon, kind of like today. So, a lot of people have asked me, what does that mean? Coffee chats. What are you trying to convey with that? And it's in essence a coffee break. But coffee breaks are often used in organizations and corporate America, right, as a time where you can build community and connection around a coffee pot, or as you go and pick up your coffee for the day, or what maybe would have replaced the verbiage of water cooler talk, right? And so now everybody carries their own water bottles, and we don't necessarily have a water cooler per se. But I worked in an organization that did have a coffee pot at the very end of the hall, and you would make your way over there. And sometimes you would bump into somebody from a different department, and you could just talk about the weather. You could talk about your plans for the weekend. You would talk about things that most often were not work related, but sometimes did have some work components in there. And the goal of coffee chats are to encourage casual conversations, and the goal is to build connection, to discuss anything, keeping it loose and keeping it something that is maybe not so driven by metrics or key performance things or politics or things that make people uncomfortable. It really is designed to create connection amongst peers. And so it doesn't have to be with someone that you work with on a day-to-day basis. Maybe it's, like I said, from a different department. And if you live and work in rural America like we do, a lot of times it's in a totally different building. You might work for the same team, but you're in different buildings. And so having coffee chats is a good way for people to come together and to just experience connection. So help us break down barriers, and it sparks relationships amongst people, friendships in your place of work or in your business or wherever it is that you are hosting a coffee chat or having a time of discussing stuff over coffee. So that's what coffee chats are. And I say cafecito chats because I speak Spanglish, which means I speak English and Spanish. And most of the time I do it within the same breath. And so if you know me and if you talk to me on a regular, you will see that I will most likely have a conversation and I include Spanish words in there. Or sometimes I'm thinking of something whenever I am speaking Spanish, and the only way that it comes to me is in English. And so, the struggle is real, guys. So, I say cafecito chats because I am totally bilingual and I take that into every aspect of my life. And so even though we're not having a dialogue per se where you're talking back to me and I'm just the one talking at the camera, I want you to know that this is an open space for you to also discuss things that you're doing. That's why I always invite you to comment below, to send me a message. And some of you do, and I really, really appreciate that because I enjoy sparking up conversations with you, even though we may not be having it at the same time. But in the world of texting and communicating in various different ways, this is perfect. Pretty soon, we're going to have coffee and conversation evenings for you women that are very interested in further developing your personal and professional careers and lives. And we're going to have some gatherings and get-togethers in the fall, and it's going to be over coffee. Hopefully there's cupcakes, but there's going to be for sure plenty of connection, plenty of conversation, and plenty of community. So I hope that you will stay tuned because that is coming very, very soon to a coffee shop near you. So I want to talk today a little bit also about developing a strategy for a life of meaningful labor. Each one of us have our experience of work and where we have been, and places where we would like to get to. In our last Women in Business, I talked about our career spans about 45 years before we retire from start to finish. And so we can break that up in segments of 15 years, right? So you can have the 1 through 15, 16 through I don't know, you do the math, right? 16 through 29 or 30 or whatever. And then you go for those last 15 years. So either way, I talk to the women in business about where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. And this is not something original to me. Brian Feather-Stunhaw wrote an article titled Developing a Strategy for the Life of Meaningful Labor from Harvard Business Review. And I'm going to give you my takeaways from that article, but also what I shared with the women in business over lunch. The most successful people are those who have a tank full of career fuel. What does career fuel mean? Now, every single one of us has to have some technical ability, right? We have to be able to do the job at hand. Sometimes it requires a certification. Sometimes it requires a, higher education. Whatever it is, sometimes there is things that are required for you to technically be able to do the job. But today we're not talking about technical ability. We're talking about some of those career skills that are easily transferable to other businesses. And I am talking a lot about soft skills. What are soft skills? They're skills that are not technical. They're problem solving skills, adaptability skills. They're strong emotional intelligence. They're an ability to weigh the risk and to take risks as you see fit and that work out well for you. And so when you have a trajectory of those, when you have almost like a backpack full of those in the way of experience, man, you are a sought after commodity or employee at other places, or even when you start your own business, you kind of have a lot to bring to the table when you have a plethora of soft skills. And so those are easily transferable. So you don't have to have a certification or a technical ability to be able to bring this with you. If you, let's keep going. So number 2, experience. You really have to have situations that you've worked through, things that you have experienced. I remember that I, at one point in my career, was very embarrassed about the fact that I had had many, many jobs. And I was like, it's just so, there's something to be said about longevity. There's something to be said about people who work 20 years in the same space and just do that and do it well and are able to be loyal and consistent. And there is beautiful things about that. But on the flip side of that, it is awesome that I have experience in many different fields. And I didn't know that until now that I am in my last 15 years of working, right? I was telling the girls at Women in Business, I don't plan to retire anytime soon, but I am looking at those years when we begin to look back to the places where we've been, to where we are, and really how we want to spend the latter part of our years. And so, at least as far as our career is concerned. And so, the experience that you bring to the table is essential. It's valuable. It's something that you can't gain by having some kind of certification. I had a girl ask me, how do you do what you do? What is it that you do to be able to help in this way, or to be able to communicate to me what I'm needing to discover about myself? And I was like, I can give you coaching books till you have nowhere else to put them. But what I felt like she was asking me was, how do you know what it is that I'm going through, and are able to empathize with me, and are able to hear what I'm not maybe saying with my words? And that is just emotional intelligence. That is experience. That is learning that people are people, whether they have an education or they don't. People are people, whether they have a position or they don't. And so when we find that common thread in absolutely every job, every position, and everywhere we go, we can truly figure out how to do almost any job. Now, I wouldn't, apply to be a rocket scientist. I don't have the education for that. But there are some things that I can definitely learn and share with people that are learn from and share to people that are rocket scientists, right? There's something of value that I can give them, even though I don't have the level of education that they do. And what would that be? That would be experience, things that I've been through, things that I have learned, and the experience that I bring to the table. You have to learn to be scrappy. You have to learn how to pivot. You have to learn how to be able to do the things that are unconventional sometimes. And maybe you don't learn those things necessarily in a textbook. You don't learn them in school, but you learn how to adapt to different situations and different environments and all of those things. And the last thing is just relational experience. And that's the ability to connect with others. And a person who is not afraid to network, a person who is not afraid to make friends, a person who leaves the attitude at the front door and enters into their place of business, their place of work, and they don't bring all of the hardships and negativity that the world puts on your shoulders. You don't bring that into every single space. Now, I'm not saying that you fake it till you make it, or that you pretend to be something that you're not, or pretend to do something that or be something that you just aren't able to be. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you can bring your best face forward. You can bring your face, put your best face forward, and you can do the best that you can in the way of attitude and behavior. A person that is not amicable, a person that is always wanting to stir the pot, is a person that is very hard to work with. Even if they have the best technical abilities, if they're not relational, if they just don't have that desire to connect with other people, it's going to be really hard to work alongside them, to lead a team that way, to even lead a business that way, and to grow a business, because we have to learn to be relational people. Now, I am introverted. I believe I'm an ambivert, actually. I believe I can be a little bit of both. But I lean towards introversion, and, a lot of times it's difficult to kind of get into those networking circles, get into those work groups and those focus groups and things that sometimes make me a little uncomfortable. But the reality is the more that I learn to be relational with people, the more that the more experience that I gain, but the more value that I feel, even as a person and as a friend and as a colleague, because even though those situations sometimes can feel very uncomfortable, they are so necessary to round you out and to make you into a person that is highly sought after as either a employee or an employer. So it works for either way. So today we can do an assessment about our soft skills and where are we. Are you growing in these areas? Are you at a standstill, or are you declining? And so it really depends on where you are today, and neither any place is not right or wrong. It's just important for us to do an assessment to find out where we are, so we can know in which areas we need to grow in. And so I have some questions that you can ask yourself. What current skills do you possess that would be considered easily transferable? Which one of these soft skills, and the many, many, many others that there are, would you consider yourself just able to pick up and take with you? If your job disappeared tomorrow, which of these skills would still make you a valuable and confident employee or employer? If your job disappeared tomorrow, do you have the ability to fit into any space because you have the this backpack full of transferable skills, or briefcase full, or whatever it is that you carry, satchel? I really think it's important for us to ask ourselves these questions and then make the appropriate changes so that we can grow in these things. Do you know how valuable it is to meet people in any capacity that have excellent customer service skills? Sure you do. You have your own experiences to tell, whether it's the person in the drive-through line or it's the person that is heading up an organization. Customer skills are across the board important. And so it's really valuable for us to know, where are we and where do we need to make some adjustments? Where do we need to grow? And begin to take steps towards implementing some practices into your day of maybe meeting at the water cooler, maybe getting to know the people that you work with, maybe becoming a more relational person, maybe making connections and helping a person every single day connect to a resource that they might need to advance in their career or to just have a much better day. Maybe it's about learning those soft skills of emotional intelligence that when you walk into the room, you know when to pump the brakes and you know when to give it gas. Every single one of us can learn these transferable skills, these soft skills. Every last one of us can be better if we learn some of these and if we fill our career tank full. So that's my advice for today. I hope that you enjoy it. I hope that you implement it. And if you know somebody that this would really benefit and serve, I'm going to invite you to like this video and to share it with somebody. Remember that you can find us on our Facebook page here at Raquel Arellano, or you can find us on our YouTube channel, which is Grounds for Success. Now, pretty soon we're going to be launching a space where you can come and obtain some of these resources absolutely for free, and you can share them amongst your peers, amongst your circle group, whomever you would like to just share these things with. You will have the ability to do so in the not so far future. So I'm going to ask you to stay tuned. And also, if you would care to work with me, simply send me a comment or a direct message, and I would love to visit with you. And we hope you have a wonderful day. Until next time, have a good one. Bye-bye.